This workshop series is meant to build on top of each other, basically. So the last one is kind of a prerequisite to this one. You have to understand that before we go to the other one.
As we get started, hit the like button to tell us you like what you see. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything else we post.
Expert in Latin means tried. So as long as you try something, you know more than somebody who hasn't. District 96 and Toastmasters International is sharing this workshop series for speakers and coaches who have a message to share with millions on the internet. Learn what elements are needed for your website to get it up and running in an inexpensive and efficient way. So you'll need a domain name and you'll need to register it. You'll need to be able to host your website. We'll also go into a little bit about WordPress installation and some themes and even some widgets. For those of you who don't know what that is, that might be your first question in the chat line. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Jamak Golshani sharing how have a conversion-focused website. Jamak.
Thank you so much, Mimi. Thank you very much. Let me start by thanking District 96 for hosting this. It's incredible to have an opportunity like this to share. Bear with me a little bit this morning. We just had a huge charity event last night, and I've been running for almost 10 days straight with very little sleep. So if I sound a little bit low, I'll pick it up as we go along. All right. So just like Mimi was saying, a bit of housekeeping. Some of you guys, I think, are new on the call, if I'm not mistaken. If you haven't watched the previous session, please go watch that. I'm not saying drop off this call right now and go watch it, but some of the things might not make sense. This workshop series is meant to build on top of each other, basically. So the last one is kind of a prerequisite to this one. You have to understand that before we go to the other one. So we talked about this in general. We talked about pillars of marketing online, and we talked about traffic and conversion. And today we want to focus on the first thing that's important with conversion, which is your website. If you don't have a website, you're not going to be able to convert anybody. That some people will end up using Facebook, Instagram, various different platforms for conversion. I personally disagree with that because over the period of time that I've been doing this, I don't know, past 15 years, I've seen many people watch their income diminish overnight when the owner of that platform, namely Facebook or YouTube, Google, decided to deplatform them. For whatever reason, they have their rules, their regulations, and if they don't like what we're doing on there, they can very easily shut it down. So having your own website, having the means of collecting the people who like you, i.e. leads, for example, on that website is critical. It's important. So what we're going to do today, Mimi summarized it very well. It's as if I had written it. What we're going to go over today is step by step what you're going to need to put everything together. So you're going to need a domain, you're going to need hosting. My suggestion is to use WordPress because over 30% of the internet is on WordPress today, and there's a reason for that. It's simple to use, it's robust. You can go from very simple static websites to things that are almost like web apps that are those widgets that Mimi was mentioning, enable that WordPress site to have interesting capabilities that you wouldn't have otherwise. And then I'll try to answer questions. So one other thing I want to say before I jump in and share my screen and show you things is that remember, I said this in the first session as well. This isn't meant to teach you how to do this because we don't have enough time. This is meant to give you a roadmap, if you will. So if you were to right now go start Googling or searching on YouTube, how do I market myself on the internet? You're going to face a whole bunch of things that people are trying to sell you various amounts of whatever. Marketers spend a lot of money in order to get us to opt into their lists and eventually buy their products to show us how to market on the internet. However, if you were to go and search how do I make my WordPress website into an e-commerce site? That's a lot more of a specific question. And there is enough free items in there that you can get going. And if you wanted to, you can then invest in a course that's a lot more focused than just this big general thing. So treat this as a roadmap. Each one of these items, that's why these are a month apart. I'm hoping that if you're into this, you can do your own research a little bit each time and start doing the things that we discuss here. Okay, with that, let's dive in. The very first thing you need when you want to put together a website is a domain name, right? Computers basically go with what's called an IP address. These days, a lot of people are familiar with IP addresses. 10 years ago, nobody knew what an IP address was except for experts. An IP address is an address, right? If you wanted to come to my house, I would give you my street address and you would know how to get here. On a network, for one computer to be able to know where another computer is, it needs to know its IP address. But human beings were not very good at remembering long numbers with dots in between them, right? Imagine every time you wanted to go to someone's website, you'd had to remember this long number. We'd go crazy. So for that reason, we have a database that connects on the internet. We have a database that connects names to those IP addresses. So when you say google.com, for example, on your computer, in the background, there's a database somewhere that translates those letters to a number. That way, your computer knows where to go and how to connect to it. In a nutshell, this is not a, it's not a class on name servers and whatnot. So with that said, we need a domain name. Let's talk marketing for a minute here. What am I going to get for my domain name? That's what should be going through your minds right now. Those of you who sent me your homework, thank you very much. Just because I didn't respond doesn't mean I didn't read them. I read through every one of them. I gave them thought and I made notes. Because again, as I said before, I will customize this as much as I can to the people who are actually present and are investing their time live to be here with me. And then the rest of the people will benefit from it. But so when you think about your own project, think about what would be an appropriate domain name. Now, the question on your mind might be, well, how do I know what's an appropriate domain name? Okay, I'm going to give you some tips so that you can think that through. First of all, you can have multiple domain names. It doesn't have to be just one domain name. And those multiple domain names can all go to one place, so they can be forwarded to one place. Later on, when we discuss SEO, search engine optimization, I will share with you that your domain name has a certain level of importance. So not a lot, but a certain level of importance. So ideally, you want your main website to be on a domain name that makes sense, that on a domain name that you choose that's most appropriate for your business, for your project, whatever that might be. And then everything else can forward to that or to various pages of that. It doesn't have to go to the root of that website. It can go to offshoots of that website, those domain names. Now, if you're a coach, if you're a speaker, if you're a leader, if you inspire people, if your product is you, let's put it this way, maybe that's more helpful. If you are, this is a Toastmasters session, so a lot of people here, we're here because we're learning to speak. We have something to share with others. And that means you are the product. Same goes with a realtor, with an insurance agent. It's the same thing. If you're in sales, if you're on your own, you're representing, you are your company. I recommend for you to choose your domain name to be your name, because that's never going to go away, right? Your name is always your name is always your name, regardless of if you, let's take this example, for example. Let's say you are a fitness instructor. Right? You're in the fitness industry, for example. I think somebody that sent me an email was, I don't remember the name. Today, you're fit, you have the ability to show people moves and lift and all that stuff, right? 10 years from now, You may not be able to do that anymore. Maybe you want to focus on nutrition now instead of jumping up and down and showing, aerobic moves because your body is not in that state anymore. As switching from being a fitness instructor to a nutrition coach, if you had your website be fitnessforall.com, for example, and then you wanted to switch it to nutritionforall.com, you're completely rebranding yourself. Whereas if your brand name was coachmimi.com and then you switch to nutrition, you're still Coach Mimi. Nothing's changed. Your brand is still the same. So everything you've worked so hard to build over 10 years doesn't go away. This is how you build a retirement, right? Because then just keep fast forwarding, right? You're in your 70s, your 80s. Maybe you don't want to give nutrition advice anymore. Maybe now you want to talk to people about how to live a good life in their 60s, in their 70s. You're still Coach Mimi. You haven't changed, right? So this is the reason I'm saying that for many of us, it's good to register our domain with our name if it's available, right? If it's not available, if you have a very common name, take a variation of it. Maybe the .ca is available for those of us who are in Canada, right? So that's my advice for people that are that are in that kind of industry. If one other thing regarding SEO and domain names, and we'll move on. If your business is a local business, let's say you're a dentist, for example, and you're a dentist in a small town, right? Let's say I live in Maple Ridge, you're a dentist in Maple Ridge, and you want people to find you. If the domain name Maple Ridge Dentist or Dentist Maple Ridge is available, you should jump on it because that has SEO value, because the keywords that you're searching for are actually in the domain. For that reason, whenever you have any sort of URL link that you create and you put up, Dentist Maple Ridge or Maple Ridge Dentist is always in there. That doesn't go away. You don't need those. Those are a given. They're always in there. So if you have a local business, the chance of you ranking in Google Maps is high. For that reason, it's important to add that little bit of value to your domain name. Outside of that, it could be names of your product. It could be other things. I think I wasn't going to do this, but I think we will need to do a session on what I call the client avatar. I didn't want to do it because it's more of a general marketing thing rather than just online marketing. It's identifying the demographic for which you're effective in, right? It's getting granular down to the point of who am I serving and why am I serving this person and what's this person thinking, all that kind of stuff. But I think we may have to do it because if there are people on the call that have not had that kind of exposure before to the marketing world, it might be difficult to do that kind of analysis, because that analysis is important for everything you do, starting with your domain name. You want to select your domain name. One of the other factors, if none of the ones that I said apply, is you want to select a domain name relevant to your audience, right? It's not about what you like so much when it comes to these things. It's about what's in their mind. What would they be searching for? So let's say that you have actually had the chance to identify what domain name you want. And at the moment, a lot of the domain names you select might already be taken. Don't get frustrated. Come up with more, right? Start making a list. When I work with clients, I usually have a spreadsheet with all kinds of domain names that I can think of with them, right? I sit down with them and we go through and come up with as many as we can, and then we go through and see what's available, and then we make a choice based on that. Sometimes they like the domain names enough that they're buying a whole bunch of them instead of just one, because domain names are not that expensive. You're looking at $10-12 a year for a domain name, so this isn't really a huge investment. It's the cheapest item on the menu. So it's good to get the domain names. Now I'm going to start sharing my screen and then explaining the rest of the things that I'm going to explain. So right now you are looking at my personal one of my accounts that I register my domain names on. I have a bunch of domain names on this account. One of the biggest registrars in the world online is GoDaddy. This is not an endorsement for GoDaddy by any stretch of imagination. I actually don't like them very much as a company, but they're there. And at the time when I set this up many years ago, this thing is called GoGimmers. I didn't realize that it was a subsidiary of GoDaddy. Otherwise, I wouldn't have purchased from them. But there are a lot of domain name registrars. Some of them are reselling domains from different from GoDaddy, for example. But it's irrelevant. Just find the cheapest one that you can. There's no advantage to being with one company versus another. Later on today, we will talk about hosting a little bit. And when we talk about hosting, a lot of the hosting companies will give you a domain name for free when you sign up. If you don't have a hosting account, when you start to sign up for something, they'll give you a domain name. So if you're just doing one domain name and a hosting account, you don't need to go and have a registration account separately. But here, in my account, you can see that I have multiple domains here. If I scroll down, there's a bunch of domain names on here that today we're going to focus on this expertmastermind.com domain because Mimi mentioned expert and I was trying to find one of them to play with. So I decided to do that. By the way, if I look off to the left, I'm not ignoring you. This is my other monitor, so all your faces are out here. When I start sharing, I'm not being distracted. So registering a domain, if I open a new tab up here, can you guys just give me a thumbs up if you see my new tab? Okay, awesome. So if I go on here and I go to Google and I just simply say register domain, right? There's going to be a lot of different things that come up. Right, registrar.ca, ca.godaddy.com. I am in Canada, so I'm getting this. There's a whole bunch of them. You can go to any of them. This one says namecheap.com. I've never been to it. Let's go see what they have. Sometimes they have promotions where you buy a domain name for $2 for the first year, and then you can play with that. But my point is, you don't need to worry about where you register your domain. Just register your domain. And you're gonna, once you've registered it, you will have the ability to go in and manage that domain. That's the important thing, right? That's what we want to have the ability to do. So to just review really quickly, figure out what domain name you want to register, go and register it somewhere. If you don't have a hosting account, which I suspect many of you won't have one, do not do this separately. Do it as part of your hosting account or through your hosting account, because it will eliminate one of the steps that we're going to talk about in a moment. And I am definitely going to mention that step because I have had so many people come hire me or a company that I was representing at some point in time just because they couldn't make the connection between the hosting account and the domain. And it's such a simple thing that you don't need to go out and pay people a bunch of money to just do that for you. So that's the domain name story. I'm going to stop there and we'll come back to it. The next thing you need once you have your domain name is a hosting account. So what's hosting? Traditionally, and I know Yuri is on the call, I have another friend of mine on the call that you guys are in the industry. You don't need to you can probably explain this better than I can. But a website traditionally used to sit on a computer, right? You would have one computer maybe under someone's desk or something that had a website. It was hosting a website. And then depending on the upload speed of that, wherever that computer was, that website could be super slow or super fast. But a web server is simply a computer that serves web pages, right? So you ask for a web page and it serves it to you. It gives it to your computer. We've grown up since then, so we have hosting companies that do that, right? We have server farms that have that stuff. Without going into details on that, all you need to know is that if you want to have a website, You can have it on free hosting if you want. I don't recommend that. I think you should invest a little bit of money into buying your own hosting. Once you have your own hosting, you can have multiple websites on there. Some hosting accounts give you unlimited websites. For most people on this call, you're not doing anything that's so sophisticated that you need dedicated hosting for a particular website. There are websites like that where you're getting a lot of traffic. The website has to be robust. There's databases connected to it that need to be able to handle the traffic. We're not talking about any of that on this call. Just remember that you need a hosting account. And again, just like domain registrars, there are plenty of companies, good companies and bad companies, that do hosting. So I would like for you to do your own research, compare prices, read customer reviews, do whatever you do when you usually go out and make a purchase. Price-wise, they, for a basic service, you're probably looking at about approximately $100 a year, maybe $100 US. I haven't bought a new hosting account in a while, so I don't know what the going price is right now. But usually they're about $10 to $15 a month. That's usually what a basic service is. With that, they give you email service, so you can have as many email accounts as you want on your domain. So let's go back to our example of Coach Mimi. Coach Mimi could have info at Coach Mimi. She could have me at Coach Mimi, sales at Coach Mimi, accounting at whatever, right? There's like whatever you want, you can have the email addresses. Some of them restrict the number of email addresses. Some of them give you unlimited email addresses. You need a hosting account. That's the basic, simple fact of it. And I don't want to mention any company names. You'll see one that I've been using for a year. That's one of, I have another hosting account as well. So please don't take this as a recommendation. It's just something I'm sharing with you today. It's not my recommendation for you to use this hosting service. But once you purchase that hosting service, so again, if you're buying a hosting service from scratch, you are going to be asked for a domain name to connect that hosting service to, and they're giving you that domain name for, well, it's not free, but you're paying for it in the package of the hosting that you're purchasing. That eliminates this next step that I'm going to go through in a few minutes of connecting the hosting service to the domain. So you're lucky in that sense if you're just purchasing the hosting account. So I'm going to share my hosting account with you. Let me just find the right tab here. Here we go. And I'm going to start it on the home page of the hosting. So you will probably see something similar to this once you purchase your hosting account. So you can see that depending on the hosting account you get, they are very, very different. Even within hosting accounts, they change from one day to another. They upgrade their backend. This is sort of their backend. So there's a bunch of various menus on here that you can utilize. I'm not going to go through all of them. This again is not about how to navigate a hosting account, but just in general, you have some marketing tools. This is marketing for them, I think, more than anything else, because anything you want to do within here, you have to pay. At least with my account, it's not given to you. They give you like $100 free AdWords, but that's basically nothing, right? So email, this is important, right? So in Email Manager, you would go in there and you'd set up your email addresses, right? Whatever a number of email addresses. If you have multiple domains that you're hosting using the same hosting account, you would still access the app to create emails through here, but then you would select your domain name and then you'd go through and do that. Let me skip this website because we'll come back to it. Files, if you want to access the files on your website directly, you can do it through File Manager or FTP Manager, which is a different protocol, different way of connecting to the server. And then these are the domain tools, right? So if you had registered the domain through here, or once you link the domain to here, we'll actually go and visit this in a minute. So I'll come back to it. And my domains is the same thing down here, but it's just the domains purchased through these guys. So let's go back up. Website, the website section. The website section in all of these hosting companies, it's the way for the hosting company to help you create a website. I think probably 10 years ago-ish, I don't remember exactly when, is sort of the era of people developing websites on like HTML websites on their Dreamweaver or whatever tool, writing code there and then uploading it to the hosting account, started to get less popular as things like WordPress came along. So you see here, this is what I want to share with you, that in this section is where you come to start to install WordPress. And then in WordPress themes is just what these guys offer. There is more. Of course, you can go through the rest of them. I don't want to focus on the rest of them today. All right, so let me stop sharing again and explain a concept, and then we'll come back. So remember when I talked to you guys about the naming and connecting that with a number. So we have the IP address, which is kind of the, I said it's like a street address of a house, versus a name that connects these two. So it makes it easier for us as human beings to be able to go there. Somehow, when you register that name, that domain name, you have to tell that database what the associated address for the server that hosts it is. Hopefully that made sense. Right, so this website that you're going to develop is going to sit on a computer somewhere on a server farm. That computer has a number. Let's simplify it like that. Has an address, and then the name that we just registered, coachmimi.com, needs to connect to that. Otherwise, you put in your browser coachmimi.com, it'll come back and give you an error message and says, I don't know where you want me to go. Right? Where tell me this is not connected to anything, right? Or it will bring up some temporary page from the registration place that you purchased the domain, right? So we want to fix that. In order to fix that, we need to go and look at the properties of the domain that we purchased. So let's go back on my registration account here. Here, let me take my annotation tool real quick. Okay, so if right here, you can see the list of the domains. For you, if you're just starting out, it might be just one. Or if you have a ton of domains that you bought in the .com boom to sell it for more expensive later, because I did that. Right? If you did that, you might want to use one of those things that's been sitting there. This experts mastermind is from a previous life of mine where I was doing things for experts. So we're going to play with this, for example, today. So we're going to click on manage just to see what stuff is in there. And if you see private information, it's okay. Don't come rob me. Ray's going to gray it out afterwards or blurb it out. So we're down here, we're looking at the properties of Experts Mastermind. It's telling me that domain is going to renew in 27 days. Some stuff about privacy, contact information, which I tried to skip through. And then you come down here, your account might be a little bit different. You want to find DNS. That's what you're looking for. DNS stands for Domain Name Server. Okay, so we want to go in there and change the name server for this domain. So I just clicked on it. And regardless of what it looks like, there's a very simple thing that you want to do in here. See these name server values? There are two values in here. One's called the primary and the other one is a secondary. When you purchase a domain, it will have some random thing, whatever it is for them. Like if you purchase it from GoDaddy, it will be a GoDaddy name server. And they're always something similar to this. Like this one, my hosting account is justhost.com. This is just very creative, right? NS1 as in name server 1.justhost.com. That's the name of the server. So all you have to do is put that in there. But to do it, you click change and you type in that information, or you copy paste it from your hosting service and you do it. And you'll see you see how it's giving you this. If you're using these guys as name server wherever you bought it, that's why I said it would be easier. It will already be connected if you purchased it from the same company as you're hosting. If not, this is what you got to do. You use your own name servers and you type in their name server values, and you can add additional name servers, but that's a detail that you don't need to worry about at this point. So put the primary name server in the top box, secondary name server in the bottom box, click save, and then give it time. Okay, this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. These things don't happen instantly. They take time. There's a whole bunch of servers that need to replicate off of each other, right? These are this is a cascade kind of situation, and sometimes it's like watching paint dry. I suggest you leave it, go do something else, and come back in 24 hours. Usually, that's a safe amount of time to make sure it's replicated enough that, regardless of where you are in the world, you can get to it. Because what will happen sometimes is, let's say if you're working with a team that's somewhere else, your partner somewhere else might be able to see the website by putting the domain name in there. You can't. It doesn't come up for you yet. So because it's replicating on name servers, we don't all connect to the same name server. There's one big one, like a king sitting at top, and then it just kind of replicates down to the various name servers in various regions and everything. So so what we just did by doing that is we connected the domain name that we created to the name server. And now we have the ability to take the next step and go create the website and install and do the rest of the things on our hosting account. Because up until then, if we did this, we would not be able to see any of the changes we made. I think I'd like to stop here if it's okay with you guys. I see my timer with a green screen. Maybe, Yuri, if it's okay with you, we take some questions before we get too far into the weeds here and see where people are at, because I keep seeing my question box just going through. I'm sure there's a lot going on in there. So let's take some questions before Janice puts up the red, and then we'll take a break. All right, so what we want to do right now, we talked about this experts mastermind domain name. I'm going to copy this just so we can see where we're at here. And I'm going to go to this browser window that we don't need anymore, paste it in there, and there is nothing there right now. You all see this, the error message? It's a 500 HTTP 500 error. There's nothing on that website. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to my hosting account, and we're going to try and install WordPress. We'll see how it goes. This is live. This is the problem with doing things live. I wanted to do this part live, so we'll see if it works. We'll see if the technology cooperates with us. So the first thing I usually do when I want to do this, I go to my domain manager, and I look to make sure that that domain name shows up in my account before wanting to go and install it. And if I just type expert in here, you see that it's there. Okay, so that you will not have this problem. You won't have to deal with this, like I said, unless you have a whole bunch of domain names. But that's step one. Just make sure that's there, that's linked. Putting that DNS in that we just changed, that name server entry that we just changed, tells the hosting account that you own that domain name as well. So it allows you to do work on it. If you don't have that, that's one of the ways that you can show that you own that domain. There are other ways as well, but it tells you, it guides you through doing it. So we're back at the main page of the hosting account. I'm going to go to the place that it says install WordPress. Click on it, and it should tell me where do you want to install WordPress. This is one of the issues with my hosting, this just host hosting. You see how it's clunky? It's trying to redirect me somewhere else. So I'm going to click on that to see if there. Now it kicked me out. Okay, I want to stop sharing, log into my account. I wish I could talk at the same time, but that's kind of hard. So you got to be patient with your hosting sometimes, especially if it's cheap. Okay, here we go. We're back. Let me try this again. All right. So website section. Let's see, where are we at? I think I just went past it probably. There it is. Install WordPress. Okay. Yeah, it's not letting me do this. Thank you.
I don't know anything about this, Jamak, but would it be helpful if you go right to the WordPress website? Is it possible to do it that way?
No, there is no site here. So there's this one. I was just trying to show you how to install it, and it should work.
You go to the WordPress tool in here, in there. Can you
WordPress
back there?
tool. Yeah.
Up, it's on the same line where it says host.
Same line as host. Oh, up here you mean? Okay.
That's correct.
I think Alice's question is, do you have to install from your host site?
Yeah, you do. You do.
You can't just go directly to WordPress and install it?
No, because, okay, so I see what you're saying. There's two, there's a hosted WordPress installation and then a different installation. A hosted WordPress, you're putting it on actual WordPress. It's not working. How am I going to explain this? So if you go to WordPress.com and you go through their service, you're just associating a domain name with something under the WordPress hosting. They're hosting it themselves versus this way. And then that restricts you for, like, for example, I think you can't sell on their domain or something. I can't remember what the restrictions are, but there are certain restrictions. Okay, so this is, it's the hosting account that's acting up, but that's okay. That's okay. We can still do this. I don't want to, if this doesn't work, I won't waste time on it. I'll just talk you through it, and then I can find a video that shows it and send it to you guys in an email. Because it's not, this part of it is not that hard to do. So basically what would happen is it will come up, you select a domain name, and then once you've selected the domain name, you say install, right? You see how it says select domain name? Let me just start typing and see if it'll, no, it's not working. So you would select the domain name, one of the domain names that's under your account, and then you click on install. And then once you click on install, it asks you for an admin password, admin username and password. You put that in. You click next. It basically asks you a couple of very simple questions, like what the tagline for your website is and things like that. You just fill out the form and then you install it. It takes a little bit of time. Sometimes it takes, I don't know, 10 minutes, for example, to go through and do it. And once it's installed, then the website shows up on the URL that you were trying to, on the domain name that you were trying to install the WordPress on. And you access it by going to the domain name /WP admin. So it'll be, I'll put it in chat here, WP-admin. And the installation, oops, I just sent it to somebody privately, sorry. WP-admin, there you go. So then it asks you for your username and password, right? The username, the admin username and password that you put into the installation, and you'll be able to access the back end of your WordPress installation. And I'm going to share my screen with you and use one of my existing websites to just show you what the back end looks like, because that's where we need to work. Once that's installed, that's where you need to be. You can even if there is a problem with the installation, you can't figure it out, you can hire people for very, very cheap to do the installation. It's not it's not that much work. It's like I just walked you through it. It's that simple. You should be able to do it within 5 minutes if it works. So this is a live website. Excuse me. This is a live website, so I'm not going to be able to make changes to the website. But this is when you log in, this is where you end up. This on the left-hand side, if you look at the top left right here, it says dashboard. This is the dashboard of the WordPress site. Everything you want to do in a WordPress installation happens back here, through here. The changes, you make it here, it goes and shows up on your website. Let's first talk about the theme. Okay, so if you just go simply to a browser window, wherever you want, just go to Google and search WordPress themes. And you can first look at free themes. You'll have a whole bunch of themes. So this one, it's like an article, 60 plus best free themes. You can go through here. Go find a theme that you like. I don't have a preference. You can click on whatever you want here. Go through the themes. The themes are basically what your website can look like. You can change the look and feel of your WordPress website very quickly, and I'll show you where you go to do that. I can't do it with this website because, like I said, it's live. But once you have a theme, you should be able to look at, they'll give you the previews of the theme, so you can see what it looks like, what the different pages are like. If you click on view demo for many of these, it gives you the ability to go through and look at what the actual, so this would be the home page of this particular theme. And then it shows you, if you go on to like a page, what a static page would look like. This is what the static page under this theme would look like. You'll have like your widgets and everything, like the contact information, things would be down here. The blog is very important on a WordPress site. You want to see what that looks like for the theme that you're looking at. So there's a lot of different themes, free, and there are a lot of very good themes that you can purchase for not that much money. So once you've purchased a theme or downloaded a theme that you like, where you would change that is you go to the appearance section here. On the left-hand side, this menu on the left is where all of your tools are. So you go to the appearance section, and then you go to themes. So it's right here, appearance themes. So especially if you have a very simple website with a few pages that are static, with WordPress, if once a year you want to change the look and feel of your website, it's super easy. You're not going to have to go through a lot of heartache and pain because you just want to change something. So this website again is live. I can't change the look and feel of it, but when you click on it, when you click on any of these things and you activate it, it probably asks you a question like, are you sure you want to do this, just to make sure you didn't accidentally click on it. And then once you click on it, the look of your website instantly changes. So that's where the theme is. And once you've, at the beginning, do this before you put content on your pages. So what you can do then is, before it has any stuff, you're not risking with anything looking bad after you've changed the theme. Then the theme will have its own, depending on what theme you have, the theme will have its own properties that you can go inside of each theme and change. Again, I'll reiterate that please treat these workshops as not as a how-to step-by-step, but as a general guide to give you a pathway. You need to learn how to install WordPress. You need to learn how to install a theme. You need to learn how to customize a theme, and those are very available, right? So this, for example, these 2011, 2019, this is a website that's old. Like it's not old. It's that we've had this website for a very long time. The 2011, 2019, all these themes, 2010, they come with WordPress once you install it. That's why they're here, and you can activate them. But so that's how you change the look and feel of the website. The other thing that I want to show you really quickly here while we're back here is there are two main ways of publishing on WordPress. One's called pages, and the other one's called posts. And you can see, if I go to pages here and click on all pages, You can see all the pages on the website. I'll tell you what the difference is in a minute. You can see this particular website has 171 pages, it looks like. And you can take any of these pages. When you click on Add New, so once your website is built and you're done with it, this is the type of thing you would be doing on a daily basis or on a weekly basis and whatever. And look at how simple it is, right? You go to Add New, you put a title for your page, WordPress. So that's the title for my page, for example. Then you'd come here, and this is like like any other WYSIWYG type of setup where you have your tools up here, and you just type and you put whatever you want in there. And then once you're done, you can add you can add pictures, you can add various things in here. You can preview it by clicking on this button that says preview to see what the actual page would look like before you go ahead and hit publish. I am going to dump this. I don't want this, but we'll go to an existing page just so I can show you. All right, so let's see. Let's go to this thing that says view from my seat. And this thing was like, you can see the date of published on this is 2014. So this page was published 6 years ago. If I go to edit, I have the ability to edit. Now this looks like a lot of code if you look at it, right? It doesn't look pretty. That's because I'm on the text tab. You see the two tabs on here. One says visual, one says text. It's in this by default because that's where I'm more comfortable doing the minor edits that I need to do. But if you go to visual, you'll see this is what this page kind of looks like, right? It's not showing a lot of things. So if I wanted to change this here, I could just highlight it and change whatever I want to change in terms of the content of website. So you don't need to, pay your web developer to go and update the content on a page. You can just log in, go to the page, update the content, hit update, and you're done. You just saved yourself a bunch of money, right? You want to change this image? No problem. Click on it, replace it, right? You can just delete it, and you can go add media, add another image on here, and then you press update, right? So these are pages. Pages, traditionally, WordPress pages are meant to be static, so you're not changing a lot of them. At the moment, the difference between pages and posts keep diminishing more and more as we go into the future, but there are still two separate things. And one of the reasons is because with the posts, and I go to all posts here to show you, the post is basically a blog post. WordPress started by being a blog, and then it grew to be this monster that it is today. So when you have your blog role, the posts that you do show up as by date that you posted on them. So sequentially they go through, but you have the ability to categorize them, right? So if you look at this category section here, you can categorize them, and then you can have just one category show up on one page. So let's say you were curating your content of 3-4 different types of content. You could have that content categorized into a variety of pages. So the people who are, if you're blogging, if you're creating new content about nutrition, for example, when you go to your domain name /nutrition, it would have every single post that you've done on nutrition on that page. And then you might have one for fitness, and it would have all the posts that you did for fitness on that particular page. So categories are useful for that. The fantastic thing about WordPress and SEO is Google, or any search engine for that matter, absolutely loves fresh content. So when you go by default, WordPress, when you create a new post and you hit that publish button, once you've done your work, you come in here and you click that publish button, it pings, it calls the Google, the search engine bots, right? It basically tells them there's a fresh content that was just posted on this URL, and that gets registered. It comes, it's the terminology is weird. It's called a bot that crawls your website, so it's a little creepy, but that's what happens. The bot comes and crawls your website and looks at all of your content, and now it knows that you exist. This new page exists out here. So that's one of the main things that's important here. But the look and feel, again, is very, very similar. You know, you start typing here and you add media, you can make things bold, you can have different, and if you're more savvy, you can click over to where it says text and look at the code. You see that the things at the top changed. You can look at the code and make minor edits that would make things look better. But if this isn't what you do and you don't have, this is where you start. You start with a visual editor and you just start typing here. And then if you want to make this bold, you make it bold. If you want to make this italic, you make it italic, right? And then you go over and you preview it to see what it looks like and see if it's something that you like the way it shows up on your website or not, right? So there it is. You see how it says start typing here? That's what I put in here. And if I had pictures, it would show up. And then once you're ready with it, you select the category if that's applicable, and then you click on publish. And you go from there. It's really that simple. Let me touch on one more thing. I see my timer showing me that I gotta wrap this up. So I go to plugins. This is where things start to get interesting. There's a plugin for almost anything you want to do on a website with WordPress. Some are free, some are not, right? So here, depending on what you want to do, you install a new plugin. So when you say add new, you have the ability to either go get the plugin from the shop, kind of. It's like think of it as a Google Play Store if you're an Android user, or app store for iPhone. You basically get your thing in here and you install it, right? Once you've installed it, it shows up in your plugins list, and you need to activate it. Sometimes there are steps to activation. Sometimes they're super simple. So you can see this one, for example, is a Facebook social plugin. It does something with the comments that carry over to Facebook as well. There's a lot of Revolution slider is a big thing that comes at the top of the website, and it allows you to have various size images with videos. So I'm just showing you this to show you that the possibilities are pretty much endless with the installation. And in addition to plugins, there is something else called widgets that you need to look at. I just want to introduce them to you. So you see, I went to appearance, the same place I went for themes, and then I clicked on widgets. So this particular site has a sidebar on the page. So to the right of the page, as you're looking at it, it has a sidebar, and on that sidebar, I have a bunch of things. So for example, I have a countdown timer. That countdown timer is here. I configure it here. You basically take the things that you need. If I wanted to put a calendar there, I would take this calendar widget and I'd drop it in here. And then I'd go configure it. Okay, so it's that simple. It's not, you don't need to save, you don't need to do anything. Yuri, can I comment on a thing about content that I saw on here real quick? It's very important, because this is probably going through a lot of people's mind right now. We'll talk about that. So we have sessions later on that's dedicated just to content development and that. But the thing is, if we don't do this right now, you won't have anywhere to post that content. So that's why I'm asking everybody to, if you're coming along with me on this ride, do the things we're talking about. Otherwise, the things that we'll bring up later on are just completely irrelevant. You'll just sit there and go, okay, that was interesting. Let me use 1 minute here really quick to I want to make sure everybody walks away understanding that my intention here is I want to make sure that you get value out of this. This isn't, I don't do this to it. I do enjoy it, but it's not, if you don't get value out of it, I wasted my time. That it's as simple as that, right? So that's the reason I asked you guys, those of you who were around last time, to do a piece of homework. I'm going to do the same thing this time, but it's simple. You know what it is. If you're going to do it, you know what it is. You need to go register a domain name if you don't have one. Go get a hosting account if you don't have one. Link the two together if you do have one. So if you have a domain name that's just sitting there you haven't used, try it out, right? Go in, install WordPress yourself, and start building it. Start building. Because I read the stuff that you sent me, for some of you, you have existing websites that you need to work on and you're working on. You need to revamp the website. Do something in parallel, right? Do something in parallel so you get, even if this isn't something you want to do later and you know you're going to pay somebody to do it, get a feel for what's involved. So if someone comes to you and says, I'm going to charge you $2,000 to change your DNS names, you can tell them, hey, that's okay. I'm not that stupid, right? That way you want to make sure you don't get scammed by people who just assume you don't know anything. If you don't get anything else out of this, I hope that you walk away with that. Just thank you for spending the time listening to me. That's important. It's a nice day out there and you could be out in the sun.
Before we let you go, just one more reminder, make sure you like this video to tell the presenters what you thought. Hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss anything else. And comment below if there's anything else you'd like to see.